When I left Christianity and fundamentalist churches, I realized that Christians become friends to non-believers in order to witness and convert them to God. Now, I'm not saying that every Christian out there only becomes friends with people to witness and to convert them. Not everyone sees relationships between Christians and non-believers as transactional. However, in the biggest denominations of Christianity, such as, Baptists, fundamentalists, MAGA, there is a push to befriend, to talk to people, to convert people. And the easiest way to do that is to, be friends with them. To bring them into the fold, get them to trust you. Being a Christian is very similar to being a car salesman. You're selling something that people may or may not want, and you have to overcome objections. I used to work in telemarketing, and we had a rule. As long as the person doesn't say no 3 times, keep overcoming objections. And it can be subtle. It's usually extremely noticeable. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, I'll explain. Christians are very big into being apologetic. And I don't mean the kind of apologetic that means I'm sorry. Christians will actually go out of their way to avoid accountability, like saying things similar to, well, they weren't one of us, they came out of us, but they're not one of us. And that was a police car. And they will go out of their way to completely ignore the fact that this person was a Christian in the ranks. Very much so. It's not hard to realize why. It's a narrative. It's as old as time. There's only 2 ways to convert people. You have to become friends and overcome objections, or you walk right up to a stranger and they call it cold selling. And being a telemarketer for years, I know what cold calling is. Basically, you're calling people or talking to people that aren't within your business. They're not your client, your patient. They didn't call you. You're calling them, and they did not expect you to call them. So yeah, you either befriend non-believers, or you cold call them. Or as I like to call it, you cold talk to them. And it's very interesting how people can walk right up to a stranger and say, they can say anything from what's your religion, where do you go to church. They have to overcome objections. They have to get you to believe and for you to ask more questions. I say that out of all of the Christian denominations, and people can debate whether or not they're a Christian denomination or not, all Christians act and pursue evangelism the same way Mormons and Jehovah's Witnesses do. They just wear a different shirt. They may or may not knock on somebody's house, but the end result is the same. They have to get you into the fold. They need money. They need your free labor, being a volunteer. They want your kids. Well, some people really want your kids. And that's just the way churches function. I honestly believe the church would not function any other way. The there's one reason for that. They have to sell you something. Churches are exactly like used car salesmen. They have to sell you something. And the sad thing is, instead of having a genuine connection, stop befriending people in order to convert them. If you don't want to actually be friends without any ulterior motive or intended behavioral leaning, it's best not even to befriend people. Because people who are smart, like atheists, well, not all atheists, but people who are agnostics, who are so far removed from religion, they can smell a sale, a transaction a mile away. I mean, look at me. I can smell someone trying to sell me something a mile away. You cannot fool me when it comes to selling something. It's all religion is a transaction. All religion is trying to sell you something. And it's not just religion. It's ideology, politics, any form of belief system. They're trying to sell you something. And you'd say, well, why do they do that? To get something out of it. Either free labor, volunteer work, bringing in a family, financial. They always benefit. And if it's not a materialistic goal, it's definitely going to be a spiritual one. Because people don't do anything without wanting to feel good, wanting to be a good person, wanting to evangelize. Everyone has a reason for doing everything. Now, it can be a positive reason, it can be a deceptive reason, but everyone has a reason for doing everything. And as long as churches view getting to know non-believers as how a salesman jumps into a sale conversation, it's ultimately very deceptive. The goal is to sell yourself, what you believe in, something. They're selling. They're selling Jesus, hell, heaven, God. They're selling something. And we all have to know that. We don't always have to accept it. Sometimes we're in it too deep. But it is how religion and Christianity works. I don't think Christianity would work any other way. Not trying to make a fast buck, it wouldn't. Now, there are some churches that run on benevolence and kindness. That's perfectly fine. There's nothing wrong with that. But churches that want to make a profit, they have to sell. And they have to get everyone to sell something. And what's the best way to do that? Guilt them, preach at them, shame them. And it's so sad that people between 18 and 30 in these big denominations, they spend their youth evangelizing, going to camps, foreign places, another state, down the road. They are volunteering. And there's nothing wrong with volunteering if that's something you enjoy. Churches thrive on volunteering, also known as free labor, because they may or may not do background checks, and they're not paying you. Everything a church takes in, they're not paying taxes. They thrive on people naive enough to give, or people who honestly believe they're going to go to heaven if they give. And churches, one of the most preached topics in any major denomination is tithing and giving. Because nobody would give if they weren't told to give. It's a constant poking And it's hilarious how people in churches view pride and greed and all the awful 7 deadly sins, which aren't actually in the Bible, by the way. And they make everyone afraid to be greedy. Yet churches are the greediest things in the world. You go to the Vatican and all these religious places that have gaudy decoration. You haven't seen greed until you go to specific famous churches. It is astounding. There is a reason why the Protestant Reformation happened. Henry VIII saw a great way to get as much gold from monasteries as possible. Power and religion have monopolized greed to a certain point. There is nothing as greedy and manipulative as religion. And they never have enough. They never get enough donations. They always have to have more. They will shame a woman on YouTube for giving $1,200 to her church when they wanted her to give $4,000. $1,200 during this recession, and nothing is enough. They have to bring people in. It's not as dark as Nexium, where they traffic you once they get you in the doors. I'm sure there's some churches somewhere that do that. But it's a dark, insidious type of manipulation. And they don't pay the people who evangelize. Not unless you have a position of authority where they have to pay you by law. These people are volunteers, free labor, thousands upon thousands of hours of free labor. Churches would cease to exist if they weren't constantly asking for money or for your time. There's a reason why people still evangelize door to door. Why they're always trying to get after you. The church would die if it didn't have one hand in your pocketbook and the other hand on your doorbell.